So, SD-WAN, Claire. We started to see penetration increasing in 2019. Is 2020 the year SD goes mainstream?
Well, we are seeing SD being introduced in all sorts of bids now, and that's definitely a massive change from where we were a year ago. So SD is going to come more and more to the fore in 2020. Maybe it's being bought by customers now. Certainly we're seeing a lot of that. But is it actually being used? Is it mainstream in that way that there's loads of client case studies out there of SD? That I'm less sure about. What's your experience?
Yeah, I think certainly it's been sold. It's whether it's being bought, and then if it is being bought, whether it's actually being used. So you're right, we're seeing trial sites, proof of concepts, but the whole estate being done by our clients, few and far between, I would say, or certainly it's in the planning stages. And I think that lends itself to some of the less marketing-friendly messages that we hear around SD-WAN. So it's still new technology. It's still challenging. There are still problems with it. It isn't a piece of magic that just turns up on site and works, despite what the marketing departments would like you to believe.
And sometimes, well, in fact, quite a lot of the time, it costs more as well. Yeah. So a large part of the marketing message around SD was it's going to allow you to service your network so much cheaper and better. Actually, we find that first part around the cost benefit not always being the case when it comes to the business case.
But I think the market is reacting to that.
Really true.
So I think you've mentioned before, we're beginning to see some of the vendors coming in and taking that on board and trying to structure their commercial proposition such that SD-WAN is more attractive to be bought. Because frankly, they want to generate the business, they want to generate the use cases to propel their business forward.
So one of the barriers we saw with SD 1-2 years ago was there were so many vendors in the market. We were talking about RFIs with 30, 40 respondents. What's happening with that now? Are we seeing that start to decrease?
We definitely are, and I think it's partly related to those points we've already been making, that suppliers are pricing and approaching bids for SD now to try and get their solution live, deployed, and then used as a case study. And because of that, we're seeing the market coalesce around certain solutions. So now you're able, instead of those tens and tens, I mean, those suppliers are still out there. Yeah. But instead of thinking, where on earth do I start? You can actually say, okay, with this one here, they've actually got those sites out there. They've got live case studies. There's that credibility being established. So that's making the shortlisting or long listing for procurement for SD a little bit easier for 2020.
And you're right, there are still lots of vendors out there, I think 70 odd SD-WAN vendors. However, it's that ability to focus on who the best are, who the most appropriate are.
So we are really seeing that credibility of SD-WAN more coming to the fore in 2020, but we're also hearing hype around other things that are related to it. I think one of the big ones is SASE. I'm hearing that a lot. Is that your experience as well, John?
Absolutely. I think SASE is a really interesting development. But I think key to say is, SASE isn't the next thing after SD-WAN. SASE is about an innovation on top of SD-WAN to make SD more relevant, more valuable to organizations. What a lot of organizations have come to realize is SD may be doing great things for their network, but it's only addressing their user populations and their workloads when they're within the corporate network, when they're sat on a corporate site, for example. But so many users are not sat on corporate sites now. They're in coffee shops, they're in hotels, they're working at home, wherever it might be. So SASE is a way of extending the benefits of SD to the whole user population. So it's making SD more relevant, more valuable to those organizations, and that's likely to increase the uptake of SD more generally as well.